What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. New episode today, and I want to go over the 3 biggest mistakes I personally made as a landlord. My name is Brian Tran. I own over 20 units, bringing in over $40,000 a month in cash flow, and boy, oh boy, did I mess up a lot along the way. And today, we're going to break down everything I did wrong so that you don't have to make the same mistakes. As I go through the video going over my mistakes, I want to first just say, guys, that even though I messed up, I lost money here and there, at the end of the day, I love rental properties. It has brought me financial security, financial stability, allows me to fund my life and do all the things I love to do. And most importantly, guys, every month I know exactly how much is coming in, so I know exactly how much I can spend. Let's go into the video. The first big mistake I made probably has to do with me being from a cheap family, right? We always wanted to do things cheaply, not spend the money, try to save as much as possible, because if you save a lot, you're earning a lot. Boy, was I wrong when it came down to fixing and repairing my properties. Let me explain. When a sink broke, when a faucet broke, I had the option to either go with an expensive Delta brand, which is name brand, metal, sturdy, or the cheapest of the cheap that they had at Home Depot, right? And the problem with that is when you go super cheap, if you've ever looked at a cheap faucet, most of the parts and most of the components are plastic. Guess what happens with plastic parts when it's compared to metal? It breaks, and it breaks very easily. So what I soon realized was that by going cheap on the part, I saved maybe $100, but every time a plumber had to go out there to change the faucet, he would charge me $200. I should have just spent the extra $100 from the get-go, bought a $200 faucet, had the plumber go out, so it would have spent $400, right? Instead, I bought the $50 one, had the plumber go out for $200, so it's $250. But the problem was it broke twice, right? So now the second time I sent the guy out, I not only had to spend out another $200, but I had to buy the better faucet, right? And if I just bought the better faucet from the first place, I would have saved the extra $200. That's mistake number 1. So what should you do as a landlord? Don't always go cheap. Cheap isn't always good, okay? Especially when it comes to parts that are gonna be used daily. Do the research and buy what's good. I'm not saying you gotta go and buy the most expensive. Again, I wanna reiterate that. We're not going for the most expensive. You're going for the highest quality for the money, okay? Because ultimately, you don't want it to keep breaking, because you don't want to be a hands-on landlord as well. I used to think I had to go out there and change it. And some of you watching this are probably like, well, why didn't you just go out there? You could have saved the $200 and changed the faucet yourself. But the thing is, guys, as you start to scale out your portfolio, you don't want to be the guy that's going out and changing faucet today, a toilet tomorrow, right? Let's run this as a business. So it's okay to hire out, but because knowing that it's going to cost you a little bit more, make sure you do it right so they don't have to come out and fix it again, because that's going to eat into your profit month after month. Mistake number 2, guys, is when it came to creating the lease for the renters, I did not put every single person who's going to be living in the property on the contract. Now, let me explain. For example, they have a mom and a dad, right? But they have 2 kids. I only put the mom and the dad. I didn't put the 2 kids. And why is that important? Well, the problem is that all of a sudden now they're like, oh, I have a 3rd kid, a 4th kid, a 6th kid, a 7th kid. Mind you, I'm renting properties in Oakland in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood. And through my experience, sometimes there's like 2 or 3 families living in one unit. And you're probably thinking, what's the big deal? Let them live there. The problem is that most of the time I'm covering the garbage and I'm covering the water in my multi-units, right? Well, when they put 2 or 3 families in this place, it's gonna run up the water bill very hard, and that's gonna kill my cash flow. Not to mention, when you have that many families in a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom apartment, the wear and tear is freaking crazy. Like, these apartments get destroyed. I've had units that I fully remodeled, and within 6 months, it would be like, holy crap, what the heck happened here? Like, my walls are all scraped up, my toilet's loose, tiles are broken, the brand new cabinets that I put in are literally hanging on by a thread, right? So, knowing that, I make sure that if they do have 2 families, because in some instances I do, but I make sure I charge them a premium, okay? And I take a way bigger deposit. That's the first thing. But also, the reason why you want to put everybody on the contract is that, look, when you do your yearly inspection on the property, and if you notice that, hey, that person doesn't live here, you now have a contract to state like, hey, only these 4 people can live on this property. Any more, I'm going to have to charge you a little bit more. It's just to protect yourself, making sure that, the people who are living there are actually on the lease. You definitely don't want them subletting this place as well. But that's another mistake that I've made. So that leads me to mistake number 3, is putting a specific clause in the contract that you cannot sublease this apartment without the owner's approval. And before, I didn't put that in there. It'd be random people coming in and, they sublet the apartment. I don't know why. And now I'm like, whoa, who the heck are you? I didn't do a background check on you. I didn't do an income verification check on you. And it became a whole mess. So, real simple, guys. Just throw that in the clause. No subletting. And while you're at it, throw in there no short-term Airbnbs unless it's approved by you. Mistake number 4, being a landlord. Being a little too nice. And what I mean by that is, people fall behind on their rent, okay? I understand. But there is a such thing as being too nice and just letting them fall behind month after month. I now know that the moment they fall behind, they give me a date, a solid date as to when they're going to get me the full amount of rent with the late fee. When that date passed, usually, I have rent due on the 5th of every month. They usually have till the 10th or maybe the 12th, something, whatever we agree upon. If I don't get my money by that day, I get lawyers involved immediately. I'm in California, guys, so I have to go through lawyers. But in your state or wherever you're from, follow the local guidelines, but get that process started immediately, because you got to understand, 1 month vacant, 2 month vacant, or in this case, 1 to 2 months with no rent, it's going to eat into your profit. You got mortgages you have to pay. So, it's not fair that they're not paying and yet you still have to pay the bank. So get that process started immediately. That way they know you're not playing around. And most of the time, guys, once that lawyer serves that notice, they usually always get me my money. Sometimes they don't, but if they don't, boom, I know that within the next 30 to 45 days, they got to go. So those are the mistakes I've made as a landlord. And to be honest with you, I probably made a bunch more, but these were the ones that were most notable, that actually caused me the most financial strain. So keep a note, put it down, because honestly, these are easily avoidable. And if you just make sure you keep these in mind, you're going to be way more profitable than me. But I want to say one thing again, that even though I've made all these mistakes, even though I probably cost thousands of dollars over the course of my landlord career, it's okay, because at the end of the day, I'm still up. I still love it. It is still a very good wealth building tool, and I don't regret any of it, because as long as you learn from your mistakes, you don't repeat it again. I mean, realistically, there's only like a finite amount of mistakes you can make when it comes to being a landlord, right? Eventually, you're going to go through all of them, and guess what happens? You become better and better and more profitable. So don't let this discourage you. I hope this was helpful. I can't wait to see you buy your first property. Hit the comments down below. Tell me a little bit more about some of the mistakes you made as a landlord, because look, if it's something that I haven't committed yet, but potentially can learn from it, I'm all for it. I'm here to learn just as much as you guys. So appreciate you guys watching. Hit the sub button. Let's go.